Hey, my name is Kaylin Rains, and today I did my project 2 on the effective lesson, and I did a Google slide or a PowerPoint. So, the effective lesson gets students just to thinking and allows them to interact and ask questions to the teacher and talk to their peers, have discussions with their peers, and tap into their knowledge that they didn't know they could tap into, as well as building new skills. So I'm going to talk about 6 things today: direct instruction, teaching, research, transferred concepts, discussion, and kind of what it looks like in my classroom. So the first thing is direct instruction. So what is direct instruction? It is used to describe lessons in which you transmit information directly to students and structuring class time to reach a clearly defined set of objectives as effectively as possible. So I'm going to go into that in a second. Kind of those steps on teaching direct instruction. And the way I do this in my classroom, which I will kind of get into that later. So I have a PowerPoint for my students. I teach 8th grade social studies. I have a PowerPoint for my students. I ask them what we learned in our previous lesson, and I tell them what we're going to talk about today. I state the objectives and standards, and then we get into our stuff. So the second thing is teaching direct instruction. Direct instruction is used differently in each subject and each grade level. So teachers of older students may take several days for each step of the process, ending with a formal test or quiz, which I usually give my students a little 5-6 question quiz at the end of our lessons, or we kind of do a project. Since COVID, we can't really do projects together. And teachers of younger students may go through the entire cycle in a class period using like informal assessments at the end. Like I ask Susie over here, or I walk around their classroom making sure that each student understands the concepts and what we talked about today. So here are the steps into a direct instruction lesson. So the first thing you need to do is state your learning objectives and orient students to the lesson. Review prerequisites, kind of like what I said a while ago, where we talk about what we learned yesterday or the previous lesson. I give them their new material. I conduct the learning probes, which what we're going to learn about today. I give them independent practice, which will be either their project, their little 5-question quiz at the end, and then I either assess their performance, or which I do assess their performance, and I will provide them feedback, and then we give practice and review. So the third thing is direct instruction research. Of course, with all things, there's a bunch of research into it. So most of the principle of direct instruction have been derived from the process product studies. This is where observers record the teaching practices of teachers whose students are achieving at higher levels and compare them to their teachers. The fourth thing is transferred concepts. I really like these 2 things from the book, so I made sure to cite them. A very large portion of all lessons focus on teaching concepts. And transfer of learning from one situation to another depends on the degree to which the information or skills were learned in the original situation, and on the other degree of similarity between the situation in which the skill or concept was learned and the situation to which it is applied. So I kind of like that. We cannot assume that students will be able to transfer knowledge they have already learned in school to real life or other situations. So we must teach them to use their skills in situations they are likely to come across. And we must give them specific instruction on how to use those skills and information to solve problems, and they must encounter problem-solving situations. Direct instruction. Discussing indirect instruction. So discussion during a lesson can look different in many ways. I know for math, it's different than it is for my social studies class. So from answering questions to controversial debates to just simply asking questions. Subjective and controversial topics are not things that I like to bring up in my social studies class, but I teach middle school, so these kids are woke. So they actually know what's going on in the world, and they actually pay attention to the news, oddly enough. So we sometimes have debates in class when we're talking about slavery or, of course, the presidential debate. I plan on giving them a mock debate. Probably not all my classes, but my pre-P class. Giving them a mock debate come election time. We'll see how that goes. Difficult and novel concepts, effective objectives, whole class discussion, and small group discussions. We do whole group and small group discussions a lot in my class. So, conclusion, how is this seen in my class? Like I said before, we do a lot of whole group and small group discussions. Either I say, hey, talk to your table partner about what you think about this. So the other day we were learning about the lost colony of Roanoke. So I had them sit at their table and talk to their table partner, and ask them, so what do you think really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke, since no one really knows what happened to it? After I, of course, presented the material and told them that no one really knows what happened. So that's how we did the discussion in direct instruction. And that's all I got. Thanks.